Hey, it's a victory Saturday. How about that? That sounds a little funny, huh? Well, the Dolphins played the first ever Black Friday game in the National Football League in the history of the NFL, and they got the dub. And you know what we say around here. It's sub for dubs. So this channel continues to grow, and that's a testament to each and every one of you. But we got a lot to get to on this Victory Saturday edition of Dolphins Today. Subscribe to the channel, and let's discuss next on this edition of Dolphins Today. All right, it was a wild game, a little bit of a roller coaster, but the Dolphins get the victory, 34-13, the win over the New York Jets. And we talked about it. The Jets' offense was terrible. This Dolphins defense took a huge step forward. And as I mentioned earlier, a huge shout out to Jevon Holland. He changed that game with the 99-yard interception return on the final play of the first half, calling it the Hail Mary. The Dolphins were able to defend the Jets' Hail Mary. In fact, Jevon Holland took it back 100 yards for the victory. But lots to get into, lots of reaction to get into on this Saturday edition of Victory Saturday, because again, it was the first ever Black Friday game. The Dolphins now 8-3, which you'll love to see. Not the best game for Tua Tagovailoa. 3 more turnovers. I'm going to pull my hair out on that, but it is what it is at this point. Dolphins 8-3, now in full control with tying the Ravens for the best record in the AFC. Of course, a lot of action on Sunday still to come. We're going to give you a viewing guide of what games to pay attention to on Sunday, as the Dolphins will enjoy some rest. Not like a full bye week by any means, but you play an early game with that short turnaround from last Sunday into the Black Friday game. Now you get a few extra days of rest. But before we go any further, some unfortunate injury news that we learned with Jaelan Phillips with the Achilles injury. And man, your heart just goes out to the guy because he had made so many leaps and bounds. He's a staple of that defense. He's a great locker room guy. The chemistry there, you even saw that on the first episode of Hard Knocks. He and Bradley Chubb were just playing so well together, and it is such a bummer to see him go out with that Achilles injury after the win against the Jets at MetLife Stadium. But you got to give Jaelan Phillips a lot of credit. He tweeted this out positive with a positive attitude, and even though it's in the midst of turmoil and a very difficult setback, he had this to say: absolutely devastated, but I feel strength in knowing that this is all a part of God's plan, and that I have an incredible team and support system around me. I'll be back stronger than ever. Fins up. And that just speaks volumes to the type of character and the type of integrity and the type of guy that Jaelan Phillips is. Again, it's a major bummer, but let's show our guy Jaelan Phillips some love in the comments. Real simple. Type 1-5 to wish Jaelan Phillips the best. He was playing at such a high level, and to see him go down with that Achilles injury is devastating. But spam 1-5 in the comments right now. Now, also, with the win, I think it's okay to start talking about this AFC playoff picture as it starts to take form now. We're into Week 12 of the National Football League. The Dolphins' bye week is behind them. And here you are at 8-3. And I don't care what the narratives are. I don't mean to yell, but the narratives are out there. This Dolphins team can only beat bad teams. They can't beat good teams. Well, you know what? At 8-3, tied for the best record in the AFC with the tiebreaker over the Baltimore Ravens, and they're going to play later on this year, so that will all smooth itself out. But I've got one thing to say to that. That is, the Dolphins have earned the right to talk about that AFC playoff picture starting 8-3 with several winnable games ahead of them in the schedule. So we're going to break down that AFC playoff picture. But first, I want to give a huge shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Guys, I've been telling you about Prize Picks for months at this point. You know, anytime I watch the game, I pull the phone out and I'm like, let me get my Prize Picks going here. Prize Picks is far and away the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, what's daily fantasy sports? Well, it's forget everything you thought you knew, because daily fantasy sports is the most exciting way to play because you don't have to play against a bunch of experts. I know your fantasy team sucks at this point, so you don't have to worry about that. You go with the individuals. It's very simply picking more or less on a player's projected stat line. You take a couple of players and you think, hey, are they going to get more rushing yards? Are they going to get more passing yards? And now with hoop season starting, you can do it with the NBA as well. Lots of flexibility in terms of how you want to structure your prize picks as well. You can go with the power play, meaning you got to get every single one correct. But hey, don't let me stand in the way of some confidence. If you think you can get every single one right, do the power play. It's going to pay out the best. If you're pretty confident, let's say you feel good about 2 out of 3 or maybe 3 out of 4, you go with the flex play. It's not going to pay out quite as much, but it gives you a little bit of flexibility there. Hence the name flex play. Am I right? So here are my picks from the Black Friday game. And Tim Boyle in garbage time is what ruined this prize pick. But that's all right. Had I gone with the flex play, I still would have won because I got 2 out of 3. So that's how it works. You simply pick more or less on a player's projected stat line and go from there. And for being a Dolphins fan, a Dolphins Today subscriber, we've got an exciting offer for you. It's a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. So don't waste any more time. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, prizepicks.com/CLNS. And because we care about you, we love you, we'll make it easy on you, and we'll put the link in the description and the comments of today's video. One more time, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Now, I said I wanted to get into the AFC playoff picture. You see it there on the screen, and let's just break it down bit by bit, chunk by chunk. We know the Ravens are leading their division. That's a packed division. They're 8-3 on the season. The Dolphins and Ravens going to meet later on this year, so that will settle itself out in terms of the tiebreakers. The Dolphins at 8-3 in first place of the AFC East. And the Chiefs at 7-3, they'll play on Sunday, as will the Jags, also at 7-3. And now we'll keep an eye on the wild card. Like I said, the Browns and Ravens are going to battle it out. I don't want to say the Steelers are out of it by any means at 6-4 in the same division, of course. That AFC North is just loaded. And you also have the, in addition to the Browns, Ravens, and Steelers, you still got the Bengals, although they lost Joe Burrow. So, and how about the Texans? What a surprise story they have been. And don't count out Indianapolis, 5-5. Denver also 5-5. The Broncos are playing really well. But here's what it boils down to, and I think this is the most important thing to consider as you start to watch these games in Week 12 of the National Football League. The Dolphins control their destiny. It's all about the Fins. The Miami Dolphins continue to win games, stack up those wins. If they can continue to do that, they are going to be in a great position. I know that's pointing out the obvious a little bit. I get that. But you look at the next 3 games coming up for the Miami Dolphins. Very, very winnable games. You got the Commanders. They just fired the defensive coordinator, and Ron Rivera might be next. Who knows? Then you've got the Titans on Monday Night Football, primetime game. Titans haven't been good this season. Then you've got the Jets again, and we just saw them on Black Friday. They are not good. Tim Boyle's the quarterback for now. I don't know who will be when the Dolphins play them again. That's when you stack up some wins, and then from there, it gets a little bit tougher. You've got the Cowboys. You've got the Ravens, and then you close it out with the Buffalo Bills. So point being, I'm not saying you just hand out wins in the National Football League, but you're in a very good spot if you're the Aqua and Orange at 8-3. You've taken care of business. Yes, there have been some slip-ups against some good teams, but point being, I like where this Miami Dolphins team is, and so I'm feeling confident, but, we always got to ask you and see how you're feeling. Will the Dolphins host a playoff game this year? Type Y for yes or N for no. Reminder, with the extended schedule or expanded schedule, they've been doing the 17 games for quite some time now, a couple of years in the books with that. The Dolphins have everything in front of them. And let me know in the comments if you think they'll host a playoff game. Type Y for yes or N for no. Now, want to close it out with some games to keep your eye on, if you will. A viewing guide, because the Dolphins, as they say, the hay's in the barn. The Dolphins already got their W for week number 12 in the National Football League, and with it being an earlier game, earlier in the week on Black Friday, they get to kick their feet up and watch on Sunday. So here are the games you got to keep an eye on, starting with the division. And I know the Dolphins continue to expand their lead in the division, but you got to believe the Eagles get it done at home against the Bills. They're a favorite in that game. The Eagles are the best team in the NFC, and I believe the Bills will get it done. That game's at 4:25, so you want to take a look at that game. And obviously, as much as it might be painful, let's go ahead and root for the Eagles in that one to continue to extend that lead in the AFC East. Now, Sunday Night Football, dial it in and take a look at this game. Ravens against the Chargers. And I know head-to-head's going to matter the most once the dust settles between the Dolphins and Ravens, getting ahead of ourselves down to when they play. But it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to see the Ravens lose that game against the Chargers. Chargers are struggling, though, so, let's not hold our breath with that. Next, I want to talk about the Chiefs and Raiders. The Chiefs are on the road against the Raiders, and it's a short week because for the Chiefs. The Chiefs played on Monday Night Football. Obviously, you want to see the Chiefs lose this one because the Dolphins are in the conversation among the AFC elite, and if you see the Chiefs go down, that's one more team they can try to leapfrog and jump ahead. Now, some wild card implication games in the AFC. I mentioned the Bengals, who have lost Joe Burrow for the season. Not as much of a threat, but hey, it's any given Sunday. Don't count anybody out. That's a big one in the AFC North against the Steelers, who are in good position. But let's not forget, this Steelers team has somehow been stacking wins while getting outplayed. And I believe, I got to double check this, but I believe they've been outgained in every single game this season. Obviously, that's not the end-all, be-all in terms of winning games, but it's not necessarily a sustainable recipe for success in the National Football League. So keep your eye on that one. And another wild card implication game, and maybe even an AFC North game, an important one for the Browns, who are also without Deshaun Watson for the rest of the season. It'll be interesting to see who they start, if it's DTR or Joe Flacco. We could see Joe Flacco, who knows? But the Broncos are hot, too. One of the hottest teams in the National Football League, which is crazy because I remember it, you remember it, the 70-20 game, the Dolphins beat the Broncos in Week 3. Denver's a totally different football team as of late. So keep your eyes on those games. That's your Sunday watching guide. And so I gave you a good list of 5, but let me know in the comments, what game are you paying the closest attention to? Do it now in the comments. That's going to do it for today's show. I appreciate everybody tuning in. What a great show it was. Shout out to Smitty on the 1s and 2s. We had a great time on the watch party as well, keeping us up to date on everything. And as always, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. You like what you see? We've got it every day. Daily Dolphins videos as well as updates on breaking news. We've got live watch parties throughout the week. And if you missed our Black Friday live watch party, you missed a good time. So join us next Sunday when the Dolphins take on the Commanders. That's when our next watch party is. But we got Dolphins videos for you every day leading up to that. So shout out to Smitty. Shout out to the real ones in the chat. Following Dolphins today each and every day. The Dolphins are 8-3, baby. Let's relax. Enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving weekend. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Love seeing a Dolphins victory. A victory Saturday, something we've never done before. That's crazy talk, but you got to love it. All love from me and everybody here at Dolphins Today by Chat Sports to each and every one of you out there. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and we will continue to talk as we go here on Dolphins Today.